Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is part B of our first lecture on Descriptive Statistics and Islamic Approach. A brief review of the first part of this lecture. It is considered puzzling and paradoxical that how can you have Islamic approach to something which is objective and factual, and the answer to this puzzle or problem is that statistics is not objective and factual. There are lots of arbitrary decisions which are involved in taking a collection of factors and assigning them weights, which are values, in order to come up with one index number. This is known as the index number problem, and it is thought to be objective, but actually there are lots of hidden values in there. The second place where values come in is when you take these theories and apply them to solve real-world problems. Then many issues come up which require having a value structure and a normative framework which Islam can provide us. And so the idea which is at the basis of most current statistical texts is that you can isolate the theory and separate it from the application. And this idea we reject in this approach. We say that theory and application must be done together. So having explained why an Islamic approach is necessary, we come to the point of what is the Islamic approach. And so the first step in an Islamic approach is to worry about the intentions, because innamal a'mal binniyat. So we need to understand why we are carrying out this study of statistics. As students, I as a teacher, I am teaching statistics. What will this knowledge do in terms of helping us to achieve our personal life goals, and how will these how should we understand how to use statistics to help others? These questions, what are our life goals, what is the purpose for our studying statistics, how this subject relates to my life and the life of all the people on this planet, these are not part of the Western methodology, because the definition of knowledge according to the logical positivist theories dominant in the West is that knowledge is only of the external world. So the real world of our own lives, human lives, and that of other lives doesn't enter into the part of knowledge, because these are internal matters, these are personal matters, and not part of science. So to explain why the Western approach does not have any discussion of purpose, it's useful to go back to the quotation from Bertrand Russell, and he says very eloquently that we are a product of accidents, so all of human life is just accidental. There is no purpose. So once you say that there is no purpose to the creation of the universe, there is no meaning to life, then you cannot talk about purpose. And so you start your study of statistics without discussing why should I study it and what good it will do to me or to the humanity as a whole, because everything you do is meaningless. So this we firmly reject from the Islamic point of view. Islam provides us with a very clear purpose of our life. There's ayat in the Quran, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mati lillahi rabbil alameen. Everything I do is for the sake of Allah. Now, we are going to be dealing with non-Muslim students, and so for them this would not be suitable. So how we deal with non-Muslims is that we say that every human life is very precious, and we have the capability to be the best of the creations. And so how can we develop our potential? How can the student, who may or may not be Muslim, achieve the greatest potential that exists within himself or herself? And so we are going to try to use this knowledge to improve the life experience and to make his life or her life as precious as it can be. So this kind of purpose would be acceptable to non-Muslims as well. So Islam distinguishes clearly between useful knowledge and useless knowledge. The Prophet ﷺ made dua for useful knowledge, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a, and also he made dua for protection from useless knowledge. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. So how do we know what is useful and what is useless? For that, we have to specify the purpose of life. So knowledge is useful if it helps us to achieve the goal that we have, and it's useless if it does not help us to achieve. But when you don't have any purpose in life, then you cannot distinguish between useful and useless, and that is exactly why in the Western tradition there is no discussion of what kind of knowledge is useful and what is useless. So what is the purpose that we should make? Well, among the highest purposes for anything is that we should try to serve all of mankind, which is the family of Allah, according to a hadith. And this should be done for the purpose of the love of Allah. So how can we learn statistics in order to serve mankind for the sake of the love of Allah? Well, we know that statistics is routinely used for deception. There is the book we cited, How to Lie with Statistics, and there's another interesting book, Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which shows how econometric models are used to deceive nations into taking actions and pursuing policies against their best interests. So one of the things that we can make the intention of is that we should try to avoid being deceived, and we should be able to distinguish between truth and lies, and we should be able to protect human beings from the harm caused by false statistics. Islamic teachings place a great emphasis of knowledge. Allah Ta'ala has given us the prayer, Rabbi Zidni Ilma, and there are so many ahadiths which give you the virtues of pursuit of knowledge. Those people, the ink of the scholars is valued higher than the blood of the martyrs, and it was the thirst for knowledge created by the teachings of Islam which took the ignorant and backwards Bedouin of Arabia and made them into leaders of the world. And it was the knowledge that the Muslims gathered that created a civilization which lasted for the 1,000 years and was made progress in all fields of knowledge. And today, if we look at the backwards conditions of the Muslims, it is because we have lost this thirst for knowledge that is part of the teachings of Islam. So the search for knowledge does require a lot of effort, struggle, and this is why we have been motivated highly to take the effort, to put in the effort and struggle hard. And Allah Ta'ala says that those who struggle in our pathways, we will guide them. So actually this says that learning is action oriented. When we struggle with the material, then Allah Ta'ala will give us the understanding of it. Allah Ta'ala also says that we try to change with our hands what we can. So the idea that our learning is a neutral and detached is not acceptable from the Islamic point of view, that we acquire knowledge in order to change the world for the better. So it's part of our struggle to change the world, to improve the world. And this knowledge, when we use it to increase, to bring benefit to mankind and to bring knowledge to ourselves, this knowledge will transform us as people, and it will also change the world. So this is the struggle that is required. How can we acquire knowledge so that it will be useful for us on the personal front, and how it will be useful for all of mankind? We are responsible to make sure that this knowledge that we acquire is used in a beneficial way and not in a harmful way. We are not allowed to create the formula for building an atom bomb and say, oh, I don't know, it's not my responsibility if somebody uses it to kill people. That is the separation. That's what happens when you separate theory from practice, and Islam does not allow us to do that. So how can we get the motivation to put in the struggle and the effort required to achieve this greatest treasure of Allah, the knowledge that Allah Ta'ala gives us. This is one of the greatest treasures that we have, that we can acquire in this world. So to acquire this motivation, we should understand that mankind has been created with the greatest potential, the possibility to rise higher than the angels, the Ahsan Taqweem. And Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran that the one human life is worth the entire humanity. So every one of us has the potential to change the world. So the question is, how can we develop this potential? How can we be the best that we can possibly be? How can we realize our hidden capabilities to the maximum? And this requires effort on removing the brainwashing which has been done, which has taught us to believe that we are human resources, we are objects for sale in the market, and our price can be measured in dollars. Once we remove these blindfolds, then we understand that our achievement is only limited by our ambition. We can aim as high as we like. We can aim to reach beyond the stars. How to do that and how to use that vision to motivate us to struggle hard to learn and understand. This is part of the teachings of Islam.